Bulls Nation, today we had a game against the Brooklyn Nets, and again, when we really didn't need a loss in today's game. We really had to come out and fight for the win, but again, we were just outclassed, and we were not the superior team against the Brooklyn Nets, as we've suffered a very big loss that will indicate our season's end in many ways. But without further ado, let's talk about the Chicago Bulls, and let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets in this video. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today we've got a Chicago Bulls versus Brooklyn Nets game reaction. The Chicago Bulls off of a 3-game win streak, knowing that every single game from here on in needed to be a must-win, versus the Brooklyn Nets side with Kyrie Irving, with Kevin Durant, and the squad without James Harden. And the Chicago Bulls just could not deliver the final blow when they made a very good comeback in the fourth quarter, and we failed to win against the Brooklyn Nets. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls today. Were we good enough to win the game? And in the end, is this the end of the Chicago Bulls season? If the Chicago Bulls went 4-0 throughout the remainder of the season, I believe we needed either the Pacers or the Wizards to lose 3 of their next games, and we would have had a shot in the play-in tournament. But now that we go 0-3, now if we go 3-1 out of these next 4 games, we need the Wizards and the Pacers to lose all of their games. And I believe the Pacers beat the Philadelphia 76ers, so we're relying, I think, on the Wizards to lose the remainder of their games. With Bradley Beal out for the remainder of the season, it looks like, or at least the next 2 games, I think, for the Washington Wizards, there could be an opportunity still here for the Chicago Bulls. But once again, I think this is the nail in the coffin. I think this is a definitive result, and I think the Chicago Bulls will most likely take their leave and not make the play-in tournament. But again, I've been saying this for a long time now. There's no need to say and repeat myself even further than that. This is what I've been talking about for a while. If we were ever going to make the play-in tournament, and I truly mean it, if we were ever going to make it, it was going to be very slim pickings, and it's going to be a miracle for the Chicago Bulls. But miracles do happen in NBA seasons. We've seen a lot of history made. Russell Westbrook made triple-double history with the most triple-doubles in NBA history. So again, miracles in history can be done. But in the end, I don't think this is our time, and we're going to have to rely on a lot of miracles. And plus, we need to focus on ourselves and win the remainder of our games if we want to get closer to what we need to be, which is the play-in tournament and ultimately the playoffs for next season. But again, the scoreline for this game was 115-107. It was a frustrating loss in the end for the Chicago Bulls. We were outclassed. We were not the superior team, and the Brooklyn Nets ended up taking advantage of that. And in the end, this was the expected result. I know many people had the faith and believed that we could have gone and beat the Brooklyn Nets. We've done it before. At the end of the day, people believed, and at the end of the day, it's fine to believe. In fact, I encourage that you believe. In the end, if you don't have belief in your team, then what's the point in supporting them in many ways? So I did have a semi-belief that we could have won this game, but you have to be aware of the situation at hand here. The Brooklyn Nets are fighting for the first seed. The Brooklyn Nets are going to come out and play for this game. They're going to take it serious. And in the end, they didn't have anybody resting in this game. Unfortunately, Kyrie Irving got an injury, and I don't like to see injuries no matter who the player is, so hopefully he will be back soon. I don't think it was a serious injury. I think it was a face contusion. I believe that's what it was. I don't know the severity of that, to be honest. I'm not a doctor. I don't really know, but hopefully he'll be back soon, especially in time for the playoffs if he's going to take some time off. But in the end, what I want the Chicago Bulls in this game specifically, because I thought we fought very hard today, and in the end, that's something that needs to be, it's a valiant effort. You're versing a great team, and you fought all the way. And in the end, you showed, I think, the Brooklyn Nets that they had to work hard for the win, regardless of if they were comfortable or not, regardless, 19 points, 10 points, whatever the situation was, we made the Brooklyn Nets work for the win today. But one thing I want the Chicago Bulls now is they need to learn from a game like the Brooklyn Nets. Notice how the Brooklyn Nets, right, they are not known for their defensive effort. They're not known for their defensive presence, and in many instances, people fondly believe if the Brooklyn Nets do not win the championship this year, it's because they do not have the defensive firepower or the defensive capabilities to beat other teams that are good offensively. That's what the Brooklyn Nets are known for. In the end, they have so much offensive talent, but they're not known for their defense. But if you watch today's game, watch how they play defense. Watch how they kept Nikola Vucevic quiet for the entirety of the game. Watch how they faked the double team many times. They force passes out of our big men. They force passes out of our guards. They put our guards into situations where we had to take really bad shots. Kobe White, Zach LaVine, even Nikola Vucevic had to take some bad shots. In the end, this was a good defensive game from the Brooklyn Nets, and that is not what they're known for. So this is the type of game where I look at and say, why can't the Chicago Bulls be like that defensively? And in the end, we've had some very good defensive games over recent times, but that was a new level that I think the Chicago Bulls can very well get to. If the Brooklyn Nets could get to that defensive level without being known for a defensive team, without having really, really solid defensive players, then why can't the Chicago Bulls do that? That's the mindset that I have when I watch this game. These Chicago Bulls needs to learn from a team like the Brooklyn Nets defensively. Offensively, I mean, they have Kevin Durant, they have Kyrie Irving, they're eventually going to have James Harden, even Blake Griffin, they have Joe Harris, they have a bunch of offensive firepower, and they even have Spencer Dinwiddie coming back soon. So, offensively, look, at the end of the day, Brooklyn Nets is going to be unstoppable offensively, but we should be able to learn from their defensive effort, because in the end, that is the capability that I believe the Bulls can get to. It's as simple as that. If the Brooklyn Nets can do it, why can't the Chicago Bulls? That's my mindset. Defensively, of course, offensively is a different story. But speaking of the offense today, this game was a bit of a questionable one for majority of our players today. Not necessarily because we had a bad scoreline with 107 points, but we really only had one or two players really show up to the game today. And this is one of the most important games of the season, yet the Chicago Bulls offensively could not get it together in the majority. There were some players, again, we could talk about Zach LaVine, even Kobe White to an extent. There were some good performers overall in today's game, but there was not that second guy or that third guy to really take the Chicago Bulls over the line. In our recent victories, I think against Detroit and against Boston, Kobe White played well, Zach LaVine played well, and Nikola Vucevic played well. And those three players playing well ended up getting us the victory more often than not. Today, we didn't see that with some of our players, and today we ended up struggling because of that. So it's a bit upsetting to know this is one of the most important games of the season, and we had players that didn't really step up in today's game. But regardless of that fact, it is what it is. We versed a good team and we lost to a good team. There's not much else you could say in this situation. This is what the Brooklyn Nets do to teams, and we are just another example of that. So again, we have the play-in tournament. It's still alive mathematically, but this loss makes it 10 times harder than what it needed to be. Again, we could rely on the Wizards or the Pacers to lose games. They've been struggling, but the Pacers won today, so I think they're out of reach for us. So now we're relying on the Wizards, and if the Wizards win a game, I believe the Bulls season is pretty much going to be over. So again, we are relying on fate and we're relying on ourselves to win all of our games. But again, we don't know the situation. We don't know what's going to happen. But for whatever the case may be, let's enjoy the rest of the season while it's here. Let's go out and compete in every single game, and let's show the NBA that we can be a force to be reckoned with going into the next season. In terms of the individual performers, we're going to get this really quickly out of the way because not many people, I believe, had terrific games today. But again, it is what it is. We're going to talk first about Nikola Vucevic, 12 points, 6 assists, 12 rebounds. This was a very, 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 I wouldn't say bad game, but a very mediocre game from Nikola Vucevic. He struggled a lot in today's game. And again, the defensive awareness for Brooklyn to manage Nikola Vucevic in today's game was very, very good. They double-teamed him. They made him pass out of the post. And in the end, we didn't have players to capitalize on that situation. So again, that was a struggling game for Nikola Vucevic. Once again, I'm not going to blame him. I'm not going to say it's entirely his fault. I'm not going to say that he's not a valuable asset to this team because of one bad game. In the end, everybody's allowed to have a bad game here or there. For the majority, Nikola Vucevic has been absolutely sensational for this team. But today was just not a good representation of him. But in that bad representation, he had a 12, 12, and 6 night. And I don't think that's bad for any other center that in this league. But again, when we're talking about the capabilities of Nikola Vucevic, we all know he could do better than what he did today. And that, again, turns into the performance that he had. Daniel Theis, 10.6 rebounds, 2 assists. Again, this is the same old game for Daniel Theis. Defensively, he was solid. Offensively, he made some open shots, and that was the situation. Again, this is a solid Daniel Theis game. He only played 21 minutes today, and that's it. That's all I could really say on Daniel Theis. Zach LaVine, 41 points, 1 assist, 3 rebounds. Now, Zach LaVine was the only one to really show up to the occasion today. He made some big shots, but in the end, I think many people can look at Zach LaVine's game today and say that he was hogging the shots in many ways. And in the end, I think that was a necessity because I don't think anybody else really showed up to the game today to really help Zach LaVine. In the end, he made a lot of good shots. I don't necessarily think Zach LaVine scoring 41 was the end-all be-all. But in the end, without Zach LaVine, I think we would have lost by more. So it's one of those situations where you'd like to see the ball moved more instead of just taking one individual taking all the shots. But at the end of the day, there's not too many players that you could say really helped him on this occasion when he was moving the ball. And he did try to move the ball a lot today. And in the end, he got 1 assist. So the 41 points was, in my opinion, to keep us in the game. But to take us over the line, I think we needed more people to help him, and that just wasn't the case today. We did not see anyone help Zach LaVine, and in return, Zach LaVine had to take a lot of shots that I think many people didn't want him to do. But in the end, he made a lot of those shots. So it's a respect game for Zach LaVine. He tried, he did everything he could, but it just wasn't enough, and there wasn't enough help for him. Coby White, 16 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. Coby White had an alright game. Again, he's the third option. He's making his catch and shoots. He's going into the paint. He took some bad shot selections, and again, defensively, not that there's much he could do against players like Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, but defensively, he also struggled in today's game, as did many of our players. So nothing new to this occasion here for Coby White. A solid night from him. He can do better. We all know he can do better, and we all know there's another level to his game that we haven't seen just yet. But it's a solid night, in my opinion, for Coby White. And I think that's all I'm going to mention in today's game. I know there have been a bunch of performers, but again, Patrick Williams had 5 points, for example. Garrett Temple had 7, 4, and 6, which is a very good game for him, even though he struggled shooting the ball. Larry Marketer made some shots. Satoransky got ankle broken. Again, there were highlight plays all around for this game because it was an offensive game. But yeah, in that retrospect, that's all I'm going to mention for the individual performers. And the must improve in return will go to Nikola Vucevic. Now, I know what you're thinking. 12 points, 6 assists, 12 rebounds. He did everything he could in the game. But for me personally, knowing the level that Nikola Vucevic is at, most of the time, he's an all-star caliber player. He's an offensive monster. I truly think there is not many people in the league as a big man, even when it comes to Rudy Gobert, Joel Embiid, any big man that's known for their defensive presence. I don't think there is anyone that can truly contain Nikola Vucevic as a big man. It has to be a team effort to stop Nikola Vucevic from doing what he does. And in the end, this is not a bad game from him, but I know there's another level, and we've all seen that level out of Nikola Vucevic as a Bulls player. In my opinion, in these last recent performances, he's probably played the best that I've seen him play in his entire career. And that's the 29 points and 16 rebounds, the 30 points and 15 rebounds, these types of performances for Nikola Vucevic. And 12 and 12 and 6 is not bad. It's close to a triple-double at the end of the day. But I know there's another element to his game, and we all know he struggled. He didn't really make a lot of shots until the fourth quarter. It is what it is, and I think if you watch the game, you would understand that I think Nikola Vucevic was the must improve. And in that being said, the player of the game is Zach LaVine. 41 points and 1 assist, 3 rebounds. In the end, he made a lot of shots, and those shots were seen as necessary. Those shots, if anybody else, would really help. If Nikola Vucevic made a few more shots, or if Kobe White made a lot more of his catch and shoots, again, if Larry Markkinen decided he wanted to shoot the ball a little bit more, any of these things, if Patrick Williams was more aggressive, we can say all the what-ifs in the world. The fact of the matter is, not many people really helped Zach LaVine, and Zach LaVine had to take a lot of shots, and in the end, it's a double negative. We don't like, or me personally, I think Zach LaVine's a much better player when he's a facilitator. But if no one helps him, he has to get away from that role and become a scorer. So again, it's a double-edged sword. If it works well, it's great. But when it doesn't work well, you start to question things for your team and for Zach LaVine, for everybody. But for me, Zach LaVine was far and away the best player. There's no comparison. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. Zach LaVine was by far the best player on this team today, and he deserves a lot of praise for making the shots that he did, for the efficiency that he made it in, and in the end, we still ended up losing this game. The Bulls' record is 29-40. Again, we only have 3 games left of the season. This season is nearly over. We're going to be discussing a lot of off-season Chicago Bulls content very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. But 3 games left. 2 of those games, we don't actually know what time these are going to be played at. But again, it's going to be very interesting to see how the season ends, if we're going to end strong, or if we're going to end up losing the majority of our remaining games. The next game's against the Toronto Raptors. Again, this game, last time I mentioned the Toronto Raptors and the Chicago Bulls, it was with the utmost importance. To me, this game kind of loses significant importance because I don't think the Raptors have a chance to make it, and the Bulls have a very small window to make it, which is very unlikely at this point in time. So this game, in my opinion, loses its importance in many ways. But again, you always want the Chicago Bulls to go out and compete. You always want the Chicago Bulls to go and win the game. And that's exactly what I expect this team to do. I expect this team to go out. I expect this team to win the game. And I expect this team to perform at a high level. Because regardless if we win or if we lose, these games are still important to get the team chemistry right. So when the next season comes around, we know and we can have some good starts. Because in the end, the Chicago Bulls had a slow start to this season. We had very embarrassing losses. Maybe with the team that we have, a proper off-season, a summer league for the young guys, and everything of those sorts, these games are important to get that chemistry up, and it's important that we take those games very seriously. So that's what I'm hoping the Chicago Bulls go out and do. And again, every game is important. Even if we don't make the play-in tournament, I want to see this team gel together, and every game will matter in that retrospect. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. At the end of the day, I think we all have some indication of where our season's going to be headed now with 3 games left. But enjoy the season while it's here. At the end of the day, there was a time where basketball was taken away from us, and many people had to suffer for that. Many people, for 10 months, people didn't watch NBA basketball. So again, just enjoy it while it's here. Because again, we're going to go into an off season. We're going to be talking about the Bulls, and eventually the hype for next season will begin. But enjoy the remaining games of the season while it's here, and let's see what we can do going forward. Take care, and peace.